So we've established through my AI collaborative storytelling series that you can write stories with AI. Are they good? But what happens if I treat my part of the story like Michael Scott treats Improv? Let's write a story together, a few sentences at a time. That sounds fun. How about I start, and then you can add to it? The sun dipped beneath the horizon, painting the sky in hues of pink and gold. In the small village of Eldervale, a mysterious fog began to creep in, swirling around the cobblestone streets. The villagers whispered of an old legend, tales of a hidden door that only appeared when the fog was thickest. But tonight, as the mist curled around her feet, young Lyra felt a strange pull, as if the fog itself was guiding her to something ancient and forgotten. And then the dragons attacked! Without warning, the ground trembled beneath Lyra's feet as a deafening roar shattered the silence from the depths of the fog. Massive silhouettes emerged, dragons, their scales glinting like molten metal in the fading light. Flames erupted from their jaws, turning the peaceful village into a fiery chaos. Panic screams filled the air as the villagers scattered, seeking shelter from the onslaught. Lyra's heart raced, but instead of running, she found herself drawn deeper into the fog, where the pull grew even stronger. It was as if the dragons were driving her towards the hidden door, the very one from the old legends. A fire truck sped down the road towards Lyra. It skidded to a stop in front of her. A man stepped out. "I'm Mr. Just in Time! We have to fight fire with fire!" he yelled, even though Lyra stood right in front of him. Then he lit himself on fire. Lyra stumbled back, her eyes widening in shock as the man, Mr. Just in Time, burst into flames. But instead of burning, the fire seemed to wrap around him like a living armor, glowing with an otherworldly light. His eyes blazed with fierce determination as he marched towards the nearest dragon, the flames on his body growing hotter and more intense. "Watch closely, kid!" he shouted, his voice booming over the roar of the dragons. With a swift motion, he hurled a ball of fire from his hand straight at the dragon, escaping more. The creature recoiled, his own flames dimming in the face of Justin's searing attack. Lyra could hardly believe what she was seeing, but a strange sense of hope began to kindle within her. Maybe, just maybe, this was the moment the legends had been leading her to. It wasn't. One of the dragons pulled a gun.
"You brought fire to a gunfight,"
it said, and shot just in time. He fell down dead on the ground. Lyra froze as the dragon's booming voice echoed through the chaos, its massive claws gripping an impossibly large, ancient-looking firearm. The air seemed to shatter with the sound of the gunshot, and just in time crumbled to the ground. The flames around him flickered out in an instant. For a moment, everything went silent, the world holding its breath. Then the dragon, its eyes gleaming with cold intelligence, turned its gaze towards Lyra.
"Now, little one,"
it hissed.
"the game begins."
Lyra's heart pounded in her chest as she realized that the legends hadn't prepared her for this. She glanced down at Justin's lifeless body, and then at the dragon, still looming, still dangerous. She felt the pull of the fog once more, stronger than ever, urging her forward towards the hidden door that could either save her or seal her fate.
"The Game of Thrones,"
the dragon said, and then it began humming the HBO show's theme song. The dragon's humming reverberated through the air, a low, almost mocking tune as it continued to stare at Lyra. She blinked in disbelief. Had the dragon just made a pop culture reference? The surreal nature of the situation was almost too much to process, but Lyra couldn't afford to be distracted. The village was burning, and Mr. Just in Time lay dead at her feet. As the dragon continued to hum, Lyra noticed something glimmering beneath Justin's body. A small, ornate key. It was unlike anything she'd ever seen. Its surface etched with intricate design that seemed to shift and move in the flickering light. The pull she had felt earlier surged with renewed intensity. The dragon's humming grew louder, more insistent, but Lyra's focus was now on the key. Whatever game the dragon was playing, she wasn't about to be its pawn. She reached down, snatched the key from the ground and turned to face the misty path ahead, determined to find the hidden door before it was too late. She approached the door, put the key in the keyhole, turned it and heard a loud click. Then she grabbed the handle and pushed the door, but it was stuck. She looked around for clues and found a sign on the door saying pull. "Oh," she said, and pulled the door open. A disgusting smell entered her nostrils. Had something died in there? She wondered. And then she saw the source of the smell. The room was filled with garbage. Lyra gagged as the overwhelming stench hit her with full force. She pulled her scarf over her nose, trying to filter out the worst of it. The room beyond the door was dimly lit, and the piles of rotting garbage was heaped everywhere. Old food, broken furniture, and other unidentifiable debris. The floor was slick with some kind of sludge, making every step treacherous. "What is this place?" she whispered to herself, half expecting the dragon to pop up again with another snarky comment, but the only sound was the faint drip of something leaking in the far corner. As she navigated through the mess, she noticed something odd among the garbage. There were strange objects that didn't belong, a dusty old book with a glowing cover, a sword sticking out from the pile of mouldy rags, and a cracked mirror that seemed to shimmer with an eerie light. It was as if this room was a dumping ground for things that had been forgotten and discarded by time itself. Lyra's eyes fell on the book. Despite the filth, it looked important, like it didn't belong with the rest of the trash. She hesitated, then reached out to pick it up. The moment she did, the book began to vibrate in her hands. The glow intensified, casting the room in a ghostly light. The air around her shifted, and then she felt a familiar pull, stronger than ever, leading her deeper into the mystery of the strange forsaken place. Something shifted in the garbage, and then suddenly a woman stood in front of her. "Oh good, you found the book I hid my vibrator in," she said. "Ew!" Lyra yelled and dropped the book. "Oh good, now it's lost again. Thank you very much," the woman said. Lyra grabbed the sword. "I wouldn't touch that if I was you," the woman said. "That's not a sword," she continued. Lyra yanked her hand back, staring at the sword with wide eyes. "What do you mean it's not a sword?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of confusion and disgust. The woman sighed, a look of mild exasperation on her face. "That," she said, pointing at the object with manicured fingers, "is a cursed back scratcher. Looks like a sword, sure, but it's got a nasty habit of giving people uncontrollable itches. The kind that drives you mad. Trust me, it's not worth it." Lyra took a cautious step back, her mind racing. The room with this strange mix of mundane and magical was becoming more bizarre by the second. "Who are you?" she demanded, trying to regain some semblance of control over the situation. The woman grinned, her eyes twinkling mischievously. "Name's Marla, but most people call me the Queen of Junk. This is my realm, and everything you see," she gestured at a pile of garbage, "is something someone somewhere thought they could just toss away, including the book you so kindly dropped." Lyra frowned, trying to piece everything together. "But why are you here? And what's the deal with the book?" Marla shrugged. "I'm here because someone's got to keep an eye on all this stuff. As for the book, let's just say it's got a lot more in it than what I mentioned. You opened it, didn't you? It's probably already started binding itself to you." Lyra's heart skipped a beat. "Binding itself? What do you mean?" Marla rolled her eyes. "You know, the usual ancient magic nonsense. You touched it, it liked you, it probably wants you to be its no owner or whatever. But you might want to be careful. Some things in here don't like to be claimed." Lyra glanced back at the book, now lying in a puddle of something unspeakable, glowing faintly. She had a feeling her night was about to get a lot more complicated. "Don't listen to her," a man said. "Marla is not queen of anything. She's just a lazy person who refuses to clean up her own mess, and that's why we broke up. Imagine living in this mess. Marla, pull yourself together, the man said. But Marla was gone, and so was the book. Lyra spun around to face the man, her head spinning from all the rapid developments. The stranger was tall, with dark circles under his eyes, and he looked like someone had been dealing with Marla's antics for far too long. He sighed heavily, running his hand through his dishevelled hair. "Great, just great," he muttered. "She always does this, vanishes when things get real." "Who are you?" Lyra asked, still trying to process everything that had just happened. "And what do you mean she's not the Queen of Junk?" The man crossed his arms, looking thoroughly unimpressed. "I'm Tom, and Marla, she's no queen, just someone who's let her obsession with collecting weird magical junk get out of hand. This place is not a kingdom, it's more like a landfill for enchanted misfits and forgotten relics, and now she's gonna drag you into it." Lyra looked around, realizing that the room seemed even darker and more ominous without Marla's strange, chaotic presence. But the book?" she asked, dread creeping into her voice. "She said it was binding itself to me?" Tom groaned, rubbing his temples. "Yeah, about that. Marla's a bit dramatic, but she wasn't entirely wrong. The book was dangerous, but now it's gone. Who knows where it might show up again? What it might do?" Lyra's eyes widened. "You mean it's not just lost, it could come back?" Tom nodded, looking grim. "It's unpredictable. And trust me, you don't want to be the one holding it when it decides to show up again. We need to find Marla and get the book under control before it causes any more trouble." Lyra took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "So, what do we do now?" Tom gave her a wry smile. "Now, we dig through this mess and hope we find Marla before the book does. Welcome to the world of magical cleanup, kid. It's not glamorous, but someone's gotta do it."
Dragon!
The dragon yelled, and its jaws snapped around the top. Then it blew fire into the house, burning everything inside. The last thing Lyra saw before she was crushed was the dragon's massive foot coming closer. Everything went dark as the dragon's foot descended, the weight and heat of its pressing down with unstoppable force. Lyra felt the world around her collapse. The roar of flame and the snapping jaws of the dragon merging into a cacophony of chaos and destruction, just as she braced for the inevitable end. It was a sudden, sharp tug, like being yanked out of a dream. The darkness melted away, replaced by a strange, ethereal light. Lyra found herself floating, weightless in a vast star-filled void. The oppressive heat and the stench of burning garbage was gone, replaced by a cool, soothing breeze. She looked around, disoriented, and saw Tom beside her, miraculously unharmed. His eyes were wide with confusion and awe, just like hers. The dragon, the fire, the junk-filled room, all of it had vanished. Before she could ask what happened, a soft, melodic voice echoed through the void. "You have faced great peril, Lyra of Eldervale, and yet your story does not end here." Lyra turned around to see a figure materialize before her, shimmering like moonlight on water. It was neither man nor woman, but something otherworldly, its form constantly shifting, like a reflection in a rippling pond. "Who are you?" Lyra asked, her voice trembling. "I am the Keeper of Paths," the figure replied. His voice calm and reassuring. "When a balance of magic and fate is disturbed, it's my duty to intervene. The dragon's wrath was not meant for you, but for the chaos that Marla had sown." Tom, still reeling from the experience, found his voice. "So, we're not dead?" The Keeper smiled. a gentle curve of light. No, Tom. You have been given a second chance, but know this. Your journey is far from over. The book, the dragon, the junk, it's all part of a much larger tapestry. You must find Marla, reclaim the book, and restore the balance that has been broken. Lyra felt a renewed sense of purpose, even as the weight of the keeper's words settled on her. But, how do we find her? How do we stop all this? The keeper extended a hand, and in his palm appeared a small glowing orb. This will guide you, it said. Follow its light, and it will lead you to the answers you seek. But be warned, the path ahead is fraught with danger, and not all will be as it seems. The orb floated towards Lyra, hovering just above her outstretched hand. She grasped it, feeling its warmth and light seep into her, filling her with a strange, quiet strength. Go now, the keeper said, its form beginning to fade. The fate of your world depends on what you do next. With that, the starry void began to dissolve, and Lyra felt herself being pulled back to reality. The last thing she saw was the keeper's serene smile, and then she and Tom were standing in the middle of a quiet, moonlit forest, the orb glowing softly in her hand. The end. A fitting, strange, and magical conclusion. From dragons with guns to enchanted junkyards and cosmic beings, this story took quite a ride. The end feels just right for such an unpredictable adventure. If you ever want to pick the story up again or start a new one, I'm here. This has been Stories with Daniel.
Dragon!